On June 30th, 2022, Ferdinand Marcos Jr., son of the late President Ferdinand Marcos Sr., took the oath of office as the 17th President of the Philippines. The inauguration marked a new chapter for the nation, one laden with both promise and uncertainty. The new president faces a daunting array of challenges, including a struggling economy, deep social divisions, and the ever-present specter of corruption. However, perhaps the most pressing issue facing the Philippines under Marcos Jr. is the escalating tension with China over the South China Sea. This maritime dispute, decades in the making, poses a significant threat to regional stability and has become a focal point in the broader geopolitical rivalry between China and the United States. The South China Sea, rich in resources and a vital waterway for global trade, has become a flashpoint for territorial claims and military posturing. China's assertive actions, including the construction of artificial islands and the deployment of its Coast Guard and maritime militia, have alarmed its neighbors and drawn international condemnation. The Philippines, along with Vietnam, Malaysia, Brunei, and Taiwan, contest China's expansive claims in the South China Sea. These nations argue that China's nine-dash line, which encompasses most of the South China Sea, has no basis in international law. They point to the United Nations Convention on the Law of the Sea, UNCLOS, ratified by China in 1996 as the governing framework for maritime claims. UNCLOS grants coastal states exclusive economic zones extending 200 nautical miles from their shores, within which they have sovereign rights over resources and economic activities. China's actions in the South China Sea directly challenge these rights, undermining the rules-based international order and threatening the livelihoods and security of its neighbors. The Philippines, with its long coastline and dependence on fishing and marine resources, is particularly vulnerable to China's assertiveness. The recent inauguration of Marcos Jr. has brought this issue to the forefront, as the new president has vowed to defend the Philippines' sovereign rights and interests in the South China Sea. The South China Sea has been a source of tension and conflict for centuries. Overlapping claims to islands, reefs, and shoals have fueled historical rivalries and fueled modern-day disputes. China's claims to the South China Sea date back to ancient times based on historical records and maps. However, these claims lack legal clarity and are contested by other nations in the region. In the 20th century, the discovery of significant oil and gas reserves in the South China Sea intensified the competition for control. China's rise as a regional power in recent decades has further exacerbated tensions. Under President Xi Jinping, China has adopted a more assertive foreign policy, characterized by a willingness to use military force to advance its interests. This assertiveness has manifested most prominently in the South China Sea, where China has engaged in a systematic campaign to expand its presence and control. The construction of artificial islands equipped with military facilities and airstrips is a testament to China's determination to solidify its claims. These actions have drawn sharp criticism from the international community, particularly the United States, which views China's actions as a threat to freedom of navigation and regional stability. The U.S. Navy has conducted freedom of navigation operations, or FONOPs, in the South China Sea, sailing within 12 nautical miles of Chinese-occupied features to challenge Beijing's claims. These actions have further inflamed tensions between China and the US, raising concerns about a potential military conflict. The Philippines, caught in the middle of this geopolitical rivalry, has faced increasing pressure from China. Chinese vessels have harassed Filipino fishermen, blocked access to traditional fishing grounds, and interfered with oil and gas exploration activities. In 2012, China seized control of Scarborough Shoal, a traditional fishing ground for Filipino fishermen, after a tense standoff with the Philippine Navy. This incident underscored the vulnerability of the Philippines to China's growing maritime power. Ferdinand Marcos Jr. inherits a complex and challenging geopolitical landscape. The South China Sea dispute is not merely a territorial dispute, it is a microcosm of the broader competition between China and the United States for influence in the Indo-Pacific region. The Philippines, a longtime ally of the US, finds itself at the epicenter of this rivalry, facing pressure to balance its relationship with both powers. The Marcos family's history is intertwined with the South China Sea dispute. During his presidency, Ferdinand Marcos Sr. asserted Philippine sovereignty over several islands in the Spratly archipelago, including Thitu Island, which remains under Philippine control. However, Marcos Sr.'s legacy is also marked by allegations of corruption and human rights abuses, which continue to cast a long shadow over Philippine politics. Marcos Jr. has vowed to uphold his father's legacy of defending Philippine sovereignty in the South China Sea. However, he faces a delicate balancing act. China is a major trading partner of the Philippines and a potential source of investment and aid. Alienating China could have significant economic consequences for the Philippines. On the other hand, failing to stand up to China's assertiveness could undermine Philippine sovereignty and embolden further aggression. In the face of China's growing assertiveness, the Philippines has adopted a multi-pronged approach to defending its interests in the South China Sea. This strategy includes strengthening its military capabilities, deepening its alliance with the US, and pursuing legal and diplomatic avenues to challenge China's claims. The Philippines has sought to modernize its armed forces, acquiring new warships, aircraft, and coastal defense systems to enhance its maritime domain awareness and deterrence capabilities. The Philippines has also sought to deepen its alliance with the US, conducting joint military exercises and reaffirming its commitment to mutual defense. The US, in turn, has provided military aid and training to the Philippines, bolstering its capacity to defend its interests. This alliance, dating back to the aftermath of World War II, remains a cornerstone of Philippine security policy. In addition to military and diplomatic efforts, the Philippines has also pursued legal avenues to challenge China's claims in the South China Sea. In 2013, the Philippines filed a case against China at the Permanent Court of Arbitration in The Hague, challenging the legality of China's Nine-Dash Line and its actions in the South China Sea. In 2016, the court ruled in favor of the Philippines, finding that China's claims had no basis in international law and that its actions had violated the Philippines' sovereign rights. The South China Sea dispute has far-reaching implications for regional stability and the balance of power in the Indo-Pacific region. China's assertive actions have alarmed its neighbors, prompting them to strengthen their own military capabilities and seek closer ties with the US. This dynamic has fueled a regional arms race and heightened the risk of miscalculation and conflict. The Association of Southeast Asian Nations, ASEAN, a regional bloc that includes several claimants in the South China Sea, has struggled to maintain unity and coherence in the face of China's assertiveness. Some ASEAN members, such as Cambodia and Laos, have close ties with China and have been reluctant to criticize its actions. Others, such as Vietnam and the Philippines, have taken a more confrontational stance, seeking to counter China's influence. The US, for its part, has sought to bolster its presence in the region, strengthening its alliances with Japan, South Korea, and Australia. The US has also increased its military deployments to the region, conducting naval exercises and deploying strategic assets such as aircraft carriers and long-range bombers. These actions are intended to deter China and reassure its allies of US commitment to regional security. The future of the South China Sea remains uncertain. China shows no signs of backing down from its assertive stance, while the US and its allies are determined to resist its attempts to dominate the region. The risk of miscalculation and conflict remains high as the competition for influence intensifies. The Philippines, under the leadership of Marcos Jr., faces a daunting challenge in navigating this complex geopolitical landscape. The new president must balance the need to defend Philippine sovereignty with the imperative to maintain economic ties with China. He must also weigh the benefits of a close alliance with the US against the risks of entanglement in a great power rivalry. The choices Marcos Jr. makes will have profound consequences for the Philippines and the region as a whole. A successful strategy will require a combination of diplomacy, deterrence, and economic engagement. The Philippines must continue to strengthen its military capabilities, deepen its alliance with the US, and pursue legal and diplomatic avenues to challenge China's claims. At the same time, the Philippines must also engage with China constructively, seeking to manage differences and identify areas of cooperation. This will require a delicate balancing act, but it is essential for preventing conflict and promoting regional stability. The stakes are high and the path ahead is fraught with peril. However, with a clear vision and a commitment to international law and regional cooperation, the Philippines can help chart a course toward a more peaceful and prosperous future for the South China Sea.